Hello to all you patriots out there in podcast land, and welcome to episode 299. Communism for Kids. No, wait, that's not. This is the number one book review podcast in Canada. We're episode 299 of Canadian Patriot Podcast. As always, my name is Andrew. I'll be your host. Joining me tonight, Gavin and Dave.
And we'd love to hear your feedback about the show. Please visit CanadianPatriotPodcast.com/feedback or email us at feedback@CanadianPatriotPodcast.com. Tell us some other books you'd like us to read and tear apart live on the internet.
And or burn.
Yeah, a version of the show is available on Stitcher and iTunes.
We need your help to support Canadian Patriot Podcast. Visit patreon.com/CPP and become a Patreon. You get a better quality version of the show for just $1 an episode. Show you're not a communist. Try to buy a CPP t-shirt. We're out of stock. I know. I'll fix it eventually. Brings us to my favorite segment. It's called What Are We Drinking? It's where I ask my co-conspirators what their alibi is. Gavin, what are you drinking?
I'm drinking Elijah Craig and Pepsi Max once again this evening.
All right, we're getting into a rhythm for Gavin's drinking.
Yeah. Consistency.
Yeah. Dave, what are you drinking?
First of all, I just want to maintain it wasn't me. It was the one-armed man. I'm drinking Sapporo.
But it's the big boy can of Sapporo, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good man. I have an interesting choice that my wife picked out for me from Great Lakes Brewing. Not my favorite small brewery in Ontario, probably because of the awesome Lake Ontario water. It's Octopus Wants to Fight.
Put up your dukes. Fucking, I got 8, bruh.
Well, and that's the marketing for Great Lakes is better than the beer. It says their pet octopus is a bit of a jerk. He's a guy who has a couple and then tells you how much he loves you or threatens to fight you. So we brewed this IPA with 8 varieties of hops and 8 types of malt. We targeted 88 IBU and 8.8% ABV to appease him. All of that is wrong. None of that is actually factual about this beer.
It's not 8.8?
No, it's not.
Oh, that's a letdown.
Yeah.
88 was the cool thing about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would have been a great thing. 8 arms, octopus, 8.8%.
Yeah, 88 IB. You know, it's strong. It's 6.2, but it's well, it kind of tastes like Lake Ontario. So
Yeah. So they pretty much
Choking
just
it down
took
best you
the
can.
water straight out of the lake. Yeah.
I can't say I've ever had anything then from Great Lakes that I was like, oh, I want to have more of this.
Yeah.
All right. Aside from our drinking habits, we're reminding people about the Patriot Challenge. That's a thing we're asking you to do every day. 5 things we're asking you to do every day to be a better person, preferably a better Canadian, but I'll take better person.
Yeah.
Exercise for 45 minutes, practice a skill for 10 minutes, read a book for 15 minutes, drink 2 liters of water that doesn't include beer or other drinks, and complete 1 task that will improve your life. Deceptively difficult to do all of these things.
Yes.
And as one of our listeners pointed out, if you're a middle-aged woman, 2 liters of water means you get to go to the washroom frequently. Apparently, this is not a popular concept.
Yeah. Although, kudos to Kelly of Slamfire. She did this the other day. She didn't, I guess maybe there was some lost in translation, and the challenge that was issued was not the Patriot Challenge. That's just something you should do every day for you. The challenge that was actually issued is Resuel.
Oh, I see. Somebody read the show notes and stopped after the first challenge. Surprise. Somebody get the Billy Mays voice. Where's the Billy Mays drop? But wait, there's more.
There's more. Yeah, a whole lot more.
Resuel. The Finnish Reserve Sports Association is organizing an international 4-day distance marching event open to everyone in Finland and around the world. The event will be held July 22 to 25. You can march any number of days. The distances are 10 kilometers, 25 kilometers, and 40 kilometers per day. So if you want to do 40 kilometers for all 4 days, you could march 160 kilometers. And for bonus points, 10 kilograms of weight.
Yeah, then you get like the highest award for it.
You can buy a medal. You can buy your own medal.
Yeah, you get the most pats on the back.
Yeah, you'll be like one of those
Pats.
Korean generals that has like the placard that goes like off of his shoulder.
It's like
And he's
6
just
rows.
Yeah.
One of those Bristol boards that folds out and has the piece
Yeah.
across the top to hold the trifold open.
Yeah. That guy. You could be that guy.
I mean, hey, it was like 20 euros to get the medal and the written
Yeah.
certificate and a shirt
In a patch.
and a patch. Yeah. So
Yeah.
spend your 20 euro.
Yeah.
So does that mean that everybody that's on New Shooter Canada has accepted?
I believe so. Yeah. They've already gone out on a few practice rucks.
Baller.
Nice.
Yeah.
Welcome to the club.
And also, Pat, Sherlock Gnomes there on Discord. I miss shooting with you, buddy, but I'm glad to see you and the wife got out for a hike. Someday when the fake and gay lockdowns are over, we'll get to shoot together again.
Yeah.
Section 74 challenges are ongoing. Andrews, I think, got delayed again. Is that
Sounds about right.
There's some news from the CCFR today regarding a ruling.
Oh.
Not Section 74 related, but like
With the
towards-
injunction or with the challenge, anyways.
with,
Yeah.
Mr. Burlew's challenge. I'm not exactly sure. I don't know all the legalese, but it seemed like it was.
Yeah. So I guess
favor.
the Crown did not present all of the evidence because they said that there is some sort of privacy privilege or whatever attached to it.
Regarding the OIC, I believe, right?
Yeah, with regarding some of the evidence as to why they decided to do the OIC. So they can't share the evidence because privileged information or something like that.
Bullshit.
Yeah, paraphrasing here, and I could be slightly mistaken, but it appears that the judge has said, whoa, 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 that's nonsense, and hasn't necessarily ruled in our favor, but has said, you need to give me the evidence. I'll
will
read through
decide.
it
Yeah.
and decide whether this has anything like privilege that like people can't know, or whether the public safety stuff overrules whatever the privilege is. So not a total win, but definitely a step in our direction, because it means that this evidence might come out.
Yeah, in the right direction for sure. Anyways, it's something positive for once for gun owners.
Yeah.
Well, this is good news. I hadn't heard that because I have forsaken social media. Or social media has forsaken me, one or the other.
It's both, I guess.
Mutual.
Yeah, you guys are
call
taking
a
a break.
hate relationship.
Yeah.
Oh no, it's not a break. We're not. The band is not getting back together. All right, so book club.
Yeah.
Book club.
Book club. All right, tune in next month when we do a good book. Hans Wessel's A Handful of Hard Men. This concludes book club. Have a lovely evening.
Yeah, this one really should have been titled like A Handful of Soy Boys.
Handful of How to Be a Complete Ass.
Oh, okay, so let's back up for everybody playing along at home that's not inebriated and wants to do this. Saul Alinsky's 1972 seminal work, Rules for Radicals.
Which is a really baller title.
He died immediately after the book was published, instead of while he was still writing it.
Oh, shucks.
Yeah. Although, on the plus side, he did finally become a good communist.
By leaving this earth? Is that what we're saying?
Yes, that is how you become a good communist.
Yeah.
Okay, just making sure I'm following along.
Yes, for everyone playing along at home like Dave. That is how that works.
Yeah.
So I'm not happy.
Money.
I've been complaining about this book all month.
Same.
I hated it. Absolutely hated it.
Like the last 2-3 chapters, I just kept zoning out trying to listen to it, and it's just fucking.
If I had to read this again or Fight Club, I would read Fight Club again.
Yeah, 100%. Turns out Fight Club's not that bad of a book.
Yeah, it's worse. Yeah.
So, personal story with this, because I tried to read a copy of it, which I did not buy.
You had to share it. You had to share it with several other people.
Well, no. So I used the socialism to my advantage, and I borrowed a copy of the book rather than purchasing it. because many of the books that that we've read on Fight Club, I have copies of them. Some of them I've had for a long time, but usually I get a physical copy. And in this case, I used some good old fashioned communism and I borrowed the copy.
Yeah.
And I got to about chapter 2 and had to stop. And I gave up, and I had a lot of driving this weekend. And in an effort to get it done, I listened to all 7.5 hours over 2 days.
Yeah.
Damn.
And I regretted each and every minute of it.
Surprised you stayed awake at the wheel.
I mean, there were times, man. So not a good, I don't usually do audiobooks. I do a lot of podcasts, but I don't usually do audiobooks because I find the retention is not the same.
Mm.
Yeah, but I mean,
Plus, I can't make
diarrhea in,
notes and-
diarrhea out. So
Well, that's part of my criticisms for this is it's not a very good set of rules or strategies or tactics
I was
for
gonna say,
how
it's
to
not
be a
rules. That's my biggest thing I've been saying throughout reading this is there's no actual rules.
There's no rules. Well, and that's part of my
It's
problem with this is it
anecdotal.
seems it is anecdotal, but not in the way that I would like. Like if you read Jordan Peterson's books or if you read like Jocko Willnick's books, they are a lot about tactics and strategies. And Jordan Peterson's like 12 rules for life. I mean, same number of rules, right? There's 12, same number of rules. And it's a very dense book and it's written in like a very clinical, long form academic way, right?
well, and he backs it up with
But he
other
makes it
like
relatable.
his
Right.
stories
And
from
that's
life and science. It's the
Yes. He has the rule, he has the scientific explanation of how that works, or the psychological explanation of how that works, and he has the relatable anecdote.
yeah, and Jocko kind of does the same thing, except it's like, here's the thing,
Here's the
tactic or
principle, the
whatever.
tactic, here's how it applies
then-
in the SEAL teams, and here's how you
yeah,
can apply
military
it to your
business. It's the wedge where he hits you with the double whammy. So you're getting it. It's all anecdotal because it's all from his experience, but you're getting multiple examples of why it works and why it works in life-threatening war scenario and like just regular everyday business scenario.
And like the thing I found a lot with a lot of the anecdotes is they're always like half thought out. Like he wouldn't even
He
finish
never really
the
got
anecdote.
to his point.
Yeah, you like
Well-
you like set up this whole scenario of how it's supposed to relate to what you're trying to teach, and then you don't even finish.
It's
the
like
thought.
there's
It
no
doesn't make
a
sense.
joke without a punchline every
Yeah,
time. Like I'm
yeah,
waiting for it,
yeah.
and it doesn't
It never
deliver.
comes every single time, and that's why. So then I start tuning out because like, oh, here we go, another fucking.
Well, that's because
anecdote.
real communism has never been tried.
So this is another one of my criticisms of this novel book rules. I don't know what this is supposed to be. It's not fiction exactly.
I believe it's kindling.
It's very much told as a biography. I did all these things. I organized all these people. I was involved in these. It's very me. It's very self-centric and not in a positive, relatable way. It's very much like this
Or in a
guy's
helpful
being.
way.
Well, like it's very self-serving and
Like I
it's
said, he comes off as a pretentious ass about halfway through the book, and it just keeps getting worse from there.
man, the very beginning of the book, he comes off as a pretentious ass. Let me see if I can find I'm probably not going to read a lot from this because it really,
Stinks.
well, it's not a good book. How do you search in a book? My electronic copy is apparently not
Find the
doing so
hamburger.
hot. Find the hamburger. Well, fortunately I know where the first quote is that I want. Paragraph 2. Didn't have to
Alright.
go far. They are now the vanguard, and they had to start almost from scratch. Few of us survived the Joe McCarthy Holocaust of the early 1950s, and those that were even fewer whose understanding and insights had developed beyond the dialectic materialism of orthodox Marxism. My fellow radicals who were supposed to pass the torch of experience and insights to a new generation were not there. As the young looked at the society around them, it was all in their words. Materialistic, decadent bourgeoisie in its values, bankrupt and violent. Okay, I don't really like Joe McCarthy. I don't really like what the whole Red Scare thing in the U.S. in the 50s. But to compare McCarthyism to the Holocaust, somebody want to remind me, like how many Jews did McCarthy gas? How many concentration camps did the Americans run under McCarthy in the 50s?
Yeah, but
Right?
that's
Like,
that's the left's playbook, man. Look at what they did with Trump and everything that he did.
I know, but it's immediately like paragraph 2, and it's immediately so over the top and unbelievable, and just like trying to rile up people's sentiments, because the Red Scare in America, yes, it was bad, but to compare it to a Holocaust.
Yeah, but I mean, the whole book is
You think-
about how to manipulate people into thinking that you're on their side and that you want the same thing, and how to get them to go along with it to get the thing that you want, that is supposed to be to make them better off, but really it makes you better off.
I get that, and I get that. It just
But it seems everyone's, yeah, for the vast majority of
It-
people are too dumb to realize that. It's like,
bothers me viscerally how extreme the allegories are in this book.
Yeah.
Like, just so incredibly over the top bullshit.
yeah. I mean, I read Uncle Ted and then this back to back. I don't know what made me angrier and made my like morning exercise more intense. Listening to Ted being like, he was right, or like just being like so furious at this that I'm just like, this son of a bitch. Like,
How much left of this fucking book is there?
yeah,
So this is part of the reason, because I'm sure somebody will ask why did we do this?
it's for gluttons for punishment.
Know your enemy.
Because my safe
Yeah.
word remains pineapple.
Yeah,
But I mean, it is kind of
he came very close to saying it. Very close.
This is supposed to be the left's playbook. And again, about stuff that mostly happened in the 60s, published in 72. Like, this is 50 years old, and most of the content is still relevant if you can get past all the anecdotal nonsense. If you
Yeah.
can get down to like the actual strategies and tactics, which is admittedly extremely challenging. But if you can get down to actual strategy and tactics, the modern left is not any different than the left of 1972.
Yeah,
It's
they're running the
changed a
same
little
thing.
bit, but it's not any different.
Still the same ideas, still the same.
Well, and if anything, all I can see is some of the things that is in the book have come to fruition. Some of the like,
Yeah.
well, we need to control the narrative. We need to have all of these people contact their media outlets and put out these stories. And well, now all the media outlets just put out the same story, like mission
Yeah, whether it's
accomplished.
true or not, get the story out.
Right. So like a bunch of that stuff is true, and a bunch of that stuff has been achieved.
Yeah.
Right. Because we
The
have
union
less.
bosses own everything now. I mean, that's
Well, I mean, that's
been the thing for a long time.
infuriating part about this is you're reading it and they're telling you like this is the tactic and it's all bullshit, but this is the tactic and this is how it works and why it works and everything else. And you're like, dude, they're doing this right now. Like,
They are doing this right
Yeah.
now. They are doing, I not maybe everything, but they are doing
how is
in the
nobody
broad
read
strokes.
this?
They are doing all of the things that are in the book, and that really
I mean, the filibustering
aggravates
parliament
me.
is like, it's like chapter 1
Ugh,
basically.
That is like the
with all of
fact that that's a
scandals in
thing
there.
that even exists is dumb. Like,
Yeah.
if you're up there and you're filibustering and it's obvious that you're filibustering and you're just like talking bullshit out of your ass about nothing, the dude with the mace should be able to come and smack you about the head and shoulders with the mace to
back to
get you to
business.
shut up and be like, make it relevant, or there's the door and you're never allowed back.
I mean, like I
Because
said, like
they're in a
every
helicopter?
every single scandal
Yes.
that's happening.
All political things should now be held in a giant helicopter.
Like every single scandal for the past 5 years now, it's just all filibuster and stuff right out of the playbook.
Longer than
Not have
that.
to talk about it. I mean, in the
Yeah.
Canadian Parliament, but yeah.
I don't know how much of this we want to go through. I don't particularly like the rules, but I pulled together the rules as best as I could.
Hmm.
The one thing I do want to touch on is at the very end of the book, the last chapter. I do want to revisit that about the military-industrial complex and the middle class, because those are very highly salient points to our current environment.
Yeah.
The rest of it probably glossed through pretty quick.
Yeah. A bunch of bullshit.
But it's effective bullshit, and that's
I know.
the reason that we're here tonight, is to talk about effective bullshit.
I mean, I think the effective bullshit, it's especially effective on, I don't know, simpler minds, I guess. or
Yeah.
more
Well,
more gullible
low
minds.
information voters, and part of this, and I mean, he does again. There was a point in the book where they were talking about the education system where I was agreeing with him. I'm like, that's what the school system is doing to kids. They don't have critical thinking skills. They
Yeah.
don't teach them to
No.
think critically. They teach them to agree with the people telling them that this is what people who think critically think.
Yeah.
Which again, highly relatable to our current climate, given everything going on with coronavirus and vaccines and face diapers.
Yeah. And
Like,
how like economics works.
well, I mean,
Literally everything. Yeah.
but again, like this, I'm at points in that the chapter. I don't. It was midway through the book. I don't recall where, but they were talking about the failings of the education system, and it basically just needs to be government indoctrination, and we need to get people into the education system in order to run it. I don't know about the early 70s, but I feel like they were well into the long march through the institutions at that point. Like I feel like the left already had pretty good control over post-secondary education in America at that time. Maybe they don't
Yeah.
have the stranglehold on that they have on it today.
Well, they may not have been well into their plan of putting out the curriculum, for lack of a better term, that they wanted, but they certainly were in the positions of power to start making the moves to do that.
All right, let's go through some rules. We can talk through some nonsense. All right, first rule. Power is not only what you have, but what the enemy thinks you have.
Yeah.
Further into that point, it's also the willingness to exercise that. And there's another rule I think that comes up later about that if you don't use it, you lose it.
What is this, government spending?
Is that our ammo
You can
allotment
only
for the year?
they talk about it in a later chapter. I think it's one of the pressure tactics ones. But they talk about you can only get your bluff called and lose once. After that, you can never bluff again. And that they start to build on that, or Linsky starts to build on that in the first chapter with power is what the enemy thinks you have. So part of that is like, well, if you don't have a big organization, you need to at least get like some money behind you and make it look like you've got a big organization.
Yeah.
Right? Like you don't have to have a lot of people involved, but you need to make it look like you have a lot of people involved. And if you call for something to happen, you have to be able to actually make it happen.
Yeah. Although I think like this is just the common sense, and I mean that I'd have to go through it all again, but like pretty sure there's a very similar lesson in a book that's a little bit older than this one called The Art of War.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of this, we should probably do Sun Tzu at some point, but Sun Tzu is not a fun read.
No, but I would read that again over this.
True. I'm right there with you. That's a good point.
If it's better than this, then I mean, it's got to be a cakewalk.
Yeah.
All right. 2, never go outside the expertise of your people, which is funny because future chapters are basically about recruiting people in communities where you're not a member of and don't live there.
Yeah, but you're making them your people, and therefore the expertise is now part of your people. But also, this is exactly what I think the left is doing now, yet somehow still being successful because they have a bunch of idiots that don't know anything about guns,
Yeah, I was gonna say
making
they're
a bunch
very,
of
very
rules about
focused.
guns.
Yeah, they're very focused on very specific topics, and they know nothing about any other possible points of view.
But I guess the vast majority of the population doesn't either, so it's
Well, that builds into their next
Yeah.
piece, but the expertise of your own people thing is I get that. That's an important thing organizationally. You don't want a team of engineers. Well, actually, you probably just don't want a team of engineers.
yeah.
Maybe I'll pick
One
a
is hard
better
enough to deal
example.
with.
But like you don't want a bunch of diesel mechanics running your investment account. Right? That's
Hey,
that's
why not?
probably not like a recipe for success.
All I've done is won on the stock markets in the past 2 years. Okay.
Well, that's because of how the stock market works. So I mean, there's
And
know,
Bitcoin.
people that don't understand how the stock markets work, people that understand how the stock markets work, and people that think the stock market is just gambling. Right? There's
Yeah, I mean, it's not like I put in thousands of dollars because I'm not retarded.
yeah, no,
Yeah, but if you didn't make $1 million off of some stonks, especially that GameStop thing, then do you even really play the stock market?
No, this is true, and that's why I'm a diesel mechanic, because I could have. I had like $300 into that stock. I would have been $15,000 richer had I known, some sort of insider information that it was gonna
No, you're not
blow
allowed.
up a
That's
month
illegal.
later. But yeah,
That's
no,
illegal.
exactly. Allegedly.
You just have to get outsider information with your friends on the
Yeah.
internet.
Yeah, I've got a tip for you later, Dave. I'll share, or maybe I should just share it now, and then everyone else can get on the next stonk.
Well, I'm waiting.
I gotta pull it up.
Is it jet fuel? Helicopters?
No, I mean that's just a good investment.
Okay,
That's just prepping.
fair.
But apparently, where is this? AMC stock on Tuesday.
Is this the next big Wall Street bets?
Yeah,
All right, then. AMC on Tuesday it is.
yeah.
All right. Good to know.
You heard it here first, folks.
Salient point, wherever possible, go outside the expertise of your enemy.
Yeah.
Which for me would be things like the stock market.
Well, I mean, for our enemy, it would be
I mean,
raising
hypothetically,
taxes.
of course,
Mm.
if we're talking about our enemy, air quotes, because we don't really have one, right? But in Minecraft, if we had one, going outside of their area of expertise would be talking about economics.
Talking intelligently about economics.
Yeah.
Understanding how inflation and central banking works.
Yeah, because the budget will not balance itself. I don't care how many times you say it, it won't. Unless by balance itself you mean completely bankrupt the country where money isn't worth anything and is pointless at this point. Then maybe it will balance itself because everyone will be broke and no one will have anything.
Except the government, because you can just print infinity dollars. But
Well, yeah, but then we'll have achieved actual communism, right?
we should be so lucky.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is still just like straight up Sun Tzu.
All right, I do like the next one. Make the enemy live up to its own book of rules.
How do we do that one? This is the hard one.
Well, we can't do that because our enemy, the leftists, don't have a firm set of actual ideological rules that they're willing to follow. And I think this is the thing where conservatives, modern conservatives, fall down a lot because they expect the left to play
By
fairly,
rules in general.
and they don't. They refuse to.
Yeah. Oh, you mean like when Trudeau got busted not once, not twice, but thrice for blackface and or brownface?
Yes,
Just
that is what I
ethics
mean.
Violations. All
Whereas,
over.
like, if any of us had ever done that, we would all, through association, be guilty because we didn't shun the other person for doing it. Even if it wasn't really like brown face, it was just us like LARPing with camo like across our face. But that's the frustrating part is like this is absolutely what we need to do, but like yeah, how do you do that when
They're
like
not beholden to any
they
rules.
have yeah.
They're willing to literally break all of them.
Well, yeah, because their own side doesn't like the whole entirety of the side doesn't play by any rules.
Mhm.
So you can't even be like, it just you get screwed. It's impossible. Like oh well, I needed to save those jobs in Quebec, so I had to violate all kinds of nonsense, or what other excuses they've always got. And if anyone else on the other side, like what's his face, Trudeau's buddy there that got like busted for sharing child porn and being part of like some crazy child porn ring and all the things, is like this is your friend, man. How did you not know about this? Oh no, doesn't matter. But like you have one conservative MP that like consensually shares a dick pic with someone that ends up blackmailing him, and now all of a sudden he's like a degen. And it's like, yeah, he maybe was a little bit dumb and shouldn't have done that. But like that's nowhere near as bad as some of the stuff that the other side has done.
Hmm.
Well, talking through some of that, I went and I think I have the ethics quote that I wanted.
I filibustered for you.
Well, I appreciate that. Reading from the book, not my words. To me, ethics is doing what's best for the most. During a conflict with a major corporation, I was confronted with a threat of public exposure of a photograph of a motel, Mr. and Mrs. registration, and photographs of my girl and myself. I said, go ahead, give it to the press. I think she's beautiful and I've never claimed to be celibate. Go ahead. That ended the threat. Almost on the heels of this encounter, one of the corporation's minor executives came to see me. It turned out he was a secret sympathizer with our side. Pointing to his briefcase, he said, in there is plenty of proof that so and so, a leader of the opposition, prefers boys to girls. I said, thanks, but forget it. I don't fight that way. I don't want to see it. Goodbye. He protested. But they just tried to hang you on that girl. I replied, the fact that they fight that way doesn't mean I have to do it. To me, dragging a person's private life into this muck is loathsome and nauseous. He left. So far, so noble. But if I had been convinced that the only way that we could win was to use it, then without any reservations, I would have used it.
So what he's saying is he has no ethics.
So he's
So what
just
he's
a
saying is
piece
he
of shit.
has no. There's a rule book and there's a set of decencies and moral standards, but they only exist insofar as that they're useful.
See, this is what we're talking about with the pretentious ass. Like, oh, I would
Well,
have
and
never done that because you know.
I would never have. I would not. I would definitely. But this is this.
But I would have.
But
Yeah,
putting
I would
people
never
up-
do that unless, of course, it's the only way. In which case, then
Well,
Rock
no,
on.
not the only
Let's
way.
go.
Not the only way. The best way.
yeah,
If that was the best way, he would have done that.
yeah, which makes it even worse because
I mean,
it's-
is there really any difference? He's still the fact of the matter is he
But
still would have done
this
it
is the
to
whole thing.
win.
This is making your enemies
Yeah.
live up to their own rule book, and it's like, well, but I'm also admitting, like in black, I don't
follow
any
my own
moral
rules.
scruples or rule.
Yeah.
I would never do that unless I had no other choice or it was the best option, and then I absolutely would.
yeah, but this is the ends justify the means argument. And I guess if you're an ethical person, then no, the ends do not justify the means. If you have no ethics or moral code, then absolutely, because all you care about is the end result. And however you get to the end result is irrelevant. You're going to do it in the most efficient way possible.
I contend that both the means and the ends are important, and not necessarily equally important, and not necessarily equally important in different situations at different times.
And to different people,
I think that's a very fair consideration.
right? Your ethics
well-
code and mine, while they're similar, there are certain instances where they could be vastly different.
I would say you and I are a poor example of that, but yes.
Yeah. I mean, yes. I mean, pedos in the wood chipper, like whatever. Like,
Feet first.
yeah. That is a perfect means to an end. But, like, yeah, there's going to always be some discrepancies, maybe. But, I mean, he flat out says that he has no ethics or moral compass in any of that because he's going to do whatever works best, even if that means.
Well, he's going to do whatever he needs to do to win. And
Yeah.
win is a very subjective.
Well, I would say that, like, based on everything else he says in the book, is win is whatever he thinks is best for himself under the guise of saying what's best for the majority of people.
Well, and the greater good argument is always a failing argument because the greater good just means greater for someone that's not you.
Yeah, well, I mean, our friend Tyler puts it in a very grotesque but accurate saying that, you know, the greater good and democracy and all that is basically legalized gang rape. It's 4 out of the 5 people in it are consenting.
Yeah, I was gonna say just because it's good for the gander. Who's the gander? The gander is the corrupt.
This is
union
part of
that
the
you're
problem with the first.
representing.
This is the problem with the first couple of 4 or 5 rules in the book is that it's all subjective on your point of views and your system that you're operating in, and whether you're the proverbial enemy or not.
Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm.
This is why you need a tribe of maybe 15 people.
Yeah, the more I read books like Alinsky's, the more I want to just go live in the woods with a gay Nazi.
Yeah. Yeah. 10 out of 10 would drink in his weird little shack in the woods. Probably wouldn't do the mushrooms though, because they make me freak out a little.
Uh, wouldn't know. I'm not interested in trying, but I mean, yeah, I think
Controlled settings, you'll be fine.
No, I could totally go on a spirit quest though from a lot of alcohol intake.
Yeah, we've seen those.
getting a lot of alcohol is not a spirit quest.
Sure
That's
it
not what
is.
that means.
Speak
Sure
for
it
yourself,
is.
dude.
We're
Yeah.
in the spirit world, asshole.
I do like this idea of making your enemy live up to their own rules. The problem with this is that the leftists don't have rules and the conservatives aren't willing to compromise on their self-imposed set of values.
Which is a blessing and a curse. I mean, it means that we have the moral high ground, but what good is that when the moral high ground is useless?
Well, yeah, I contend that moral high ground doesn't provide any actual value. Winning provides value.
Yeah, but that's
Your
the problem.
your team coming out on top, providing for your own tribe, provides value. But
Yeah,
losing or winning a moral battle and losing the philosophical war doesn't do you any good.
stay tuned for next month's book where we really talk about that.
Yeah.
Best book ever. Just throwing it out there.
I don't know about ever, but I mean, it's really good. Next month's book is much better than this month's book.
Yeah, I do the audiobook things, and I try to do like a half hour a day and have for the last, I don't know, 90 days or something. This book, it was like 30 minutes, and it was like, yeah, and I'm gonna just turn that off for now. But a handful of hard men, it was like, man, I was like an hour and a half a day into that book. Like I went through that like it was a hot knife through butter.
Yeah, I would be in the parking lot home, and I would just be sitting there like wanting.
Yeah, I gotta finish this section.
There's too much awesome shit's going on right now. We're bombing motherfuckers. We're going in behind enemy lines. We need to fucking. I just gotta listen to all of this right now.
I need to hear all about how they fuck these communists up.
Yeah.
As opposed to, I need to hear all about how we organize these people that don't understand that they're being communists.
Yeah.
That is a very good point, and I think that is worth exploring further because one of Alinsky's major premises in this book is that you can go into a community, an existing organization or community space, and gather people with wildly different opinions and values and objectives, and using a big enough tent to get enough of those objectives together to get enough people onto your side, like quote unquote your side, to bring all of these people that have not even a common goal, but like related goals or overlapping agendas together.
I would say that they're not even necessarily related or overlap. They're like adjacent to one another, where it's like,
but they're sort of in the same direction. You're not going to get a bunch of anti-abortion people to work with a bunch of pro-abortion people on a specific cause.
Yeah,
but
I guess
you get a bunch of pro-life people to work together on a bunch of related causes.
Yeah, I guess his example in the book is like for housing projects where you go in and like you've got a bunch of people that have a bunch of different problems all relating to the apartments that they live in. They may not necessarily all be around like what their rent is. It could be one guy is pissed off about his rent. The other guy is like, I don't like that the heat comes on at this time of year and turns off at that time of year. And the other guy, has some other like garbage pickup should be Tuesday, not Wednesday. And you collect all these people under one umbrella to say, we don't like the landlord.
Mm-hmm.
And then organize. It's like, no, it's not that you don't like the landlord. Like each person has a very specific gripe that could be addressed, but may not even necessarily be the majority of people. It could be just that this one person doesn't like this thing, and this other person doesn't like this other completely separate thing, but both have to deal with the person. So you've collected a bunch of people that have individual gripes, lump them all into one thing to go after a person, and all these other people just want that one thing to get fixed, so they're willing to go along with other things that may actually be not what they want. It could be opposite to what they want, but you've pitched it in such a way that it's like, damn the man, we gonna get what we want.
And I think that's a big takeaway for the organizer aspect of this, is that it's you need to rally a bunch of people against a bunch of common causes that they otherwise would not necessarily be interested in. And a lot of this goes back to the middle class thing that I want to spend some time on at the end. Is people lead boring lives and they need some entertainment, and that's a good reason to recruit people.
That, and just to have better background for this, I actually read the Communist Manifesto. They talk a lot about the middle.
And how is that fictional book? Is it?
I mean, I would read that again over this because it's way shorter.
Fair enough.
It was only like an hour and a half, which shows you how well thought out that plan is. Like the entirety of the Communist Manifesto, their roadmap to success, an hour and a half.
Free shit, yo.
Pretty much.
Right? That's basically.
Yeah. And a bunch of whole other stuff is like, you're saying that we can't do this because you'd give up private ownership of stuff. You already don't own anything, except that you do. Everyone owns stuff. Whatever.
Wow.
That's a book for another time, maybe.
But yeah, let's not do that too much. Some more rules. We're at 5. Humor is a big part of Alinsky's thing, although I don't think most of Alinsky's humor is actually very funny. Personal preference. I don't think he's funny.
Yeah.
He thinks he's fucking hilarious.
I think he panders to the lowest common denominator and uses a bunch of crude humor to get his supposed point across.
And he does talk.
Farting filibuster is like case in point. Like how fucking.
He does talk about the bodily functions part at one point because it is highly relatable. Everybody poops.
Yeah.
Right. Like.
But his idea literally like go in somewhere and just fart a bunch to like make people uncomfortable and like get your point across. Like really.
But that's what it is though, right? So like the upper class, high society people that he's targeting to make look like the bad guy, they don't want a bunch of homeless people showing up that have had a catered dinner where it was nothing but baked beans showing up to the theater and farting their brains out constantly. They don't want that.
No,
You've sufficiently made them uncomfortable enough that they're going to do something about it. And to do something about it means probably acquiesce to their requests.
Or just don't let homeless people in.
Or at least, allow parlay to happen, right?
I still don't think he's funny. I understand using things that are relatable to
He's an imbecile.
The common people. Everybody poops. I get it.
But that's how he unifies the lower middle class and the lower class to use, it doesn't mean that they're lower class. It just means they're not, or how does he put it? The
proletariat? No, wait, wrong book.
Yeah, same book, but different. The have-nots or something like that.
The
he keeps saying, the haves and the have-nots.
Have some and want more in the haves.
Yeah, he does say that a lot.
It unifies them because, a bunch of these people, unfortunately, don't have quite the same level of sophistication as other people, and they're unified by the lowbrow humor, unfortunately.
Well, and I think this is like an organizational strategy. If you want to get a bunch of people together in the middle of the day or at particularly in the middle of the day, I'm thinking about protests particularly. If you want to get a bunch of people together to do something, you have to do it at a time where those people are available. Yeah. And most, I'm going to say, educated and employed persons, people who tend to be middle or upper class, have businesses to run or jobs to attend to.
Yeah, so the Monday to Friday, 9 to 5 protest
not a great time for a protest for conservatives because they're at work.
Yeah.
Really good time for liberals unless it's the second Friday of the month because that's payday.
Yeah. Although right now with all the pubs being closed, doesn't matter.
No, but I mean, he touches on that as well as a
Yeah.
tactic of organization to organize a demonstration in a major urban center and to have people go and see their friends and do social activities in those urban centers while they're doing it, to go out and
Yeah.
eat and drink and carry on and see their friends and go and have a protest and make it a social event.
Well, because then their friends that may or may not be on the fence will be like, yeah, I'll go see my friend. We'll hang out here and we'll socialize in the thing. We may not even support it, but I get to see Joe that I haven't seen in a few weeks.
Right. And I mean, we've seen that with events that we've been to, is some people just go there for the people, the camaraderie, the not so much for the event, but for the other people that are there.
Yeah.
It's not an invalid tactic, and nothing really in the book that he talks about is an invalid tactic. It's just a lot of it is very distasteful, and he is very high on his own supply.
Oh yeah. This is the kind of guy that
Put it
gets
lightly.
high off of his own farts, right? Like he's literally he will eat the beans that he served at his catered affair and go into the theater and smell his own farts along with everyone else's and probably get a weird awkward boner.
That ain't no lie.
Well, let's go through a couple more.
6.
Ridicule. I think we're on number 5. Ridicule is a man's most potent weapon. There is no defense. It is almost impossible to counterattack ridicule. It also infuriates the opposition, who then react to your advantage. So, like, make fun of the conservatives. That's the takeaway here.
Yeah. Although
This is why the left. This rule is why the left can't meme, though. This is the precise rule why the left can't meme.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I would say like he's absolutely right, but there is a line.
No, I don't know. Ridicule, I don't think has a line, especially when you're dealing with people that are not morally scrupulous.
mean,
I
that's
think
why
the
they all yell
line
Nazi,
is
right?
the line is a lot further and a lot more blurred when it's on the left side.
Well, that's why
Like,
they spout the Nazi, the word Nazi so much, right? Like,
well, I mean, you look at so like when Trump was running and there was the reporter or whatever that had, I can't remember what it was, but some sort of physical issue where he had the shakes or whatever, and like Trump did the whole like, you know, jittery arm thing and the right. You got to watch the video for this one, but like they all said that he was ridiculing the reporter for his physical problem. Where I don't think he was. I think he was just doing like a generic thing and not necessarily specifically targeted that individual. But they all
they said he was picking on a reporter with like palsy or something.
Something like that, yeah. Right? Like
I vaguely recall this incident.
So like obviously on you know, Trump being a conservative and on the right, the moral line is there and it's very you have to play by the rules, right? Whereas on the left, it's much, much further back and a little blurry even at that. But like I think there is still a line. And there are certain things that you can't ridicule somebody for.
I don't know. I mean,
like if all of a sudden it came out that like Stephen Harper was
literally the devil,
trans and enjoyed getting his balls waxed, it made him feel more like a woman.
Well, I mean, he's halfway to a human rights tribunal, but all right, go on.
Right, like they wouldn't be able to make fun of that, not without looking bad, at least a little bit, as opposed to.
I don't think that they are worried about looking bad because the people that are running the media and the people that are picking on Stephen Harper.
That's the thing is they would just ignore it. They just straight out just ignore it. But that's the problem. Is that?
But you're right. If somebody on the right, if a conservative were to do that, and I really don't like defending conservatives because that's not my.
No, Uncle Ted was right, and both sides are terrible. Live in a woods.
Live in a woods. Send people letter bombs. Don't actually send people letter bombs. This is an entertainment podcast.
But what you should do though is send people bomb letters that are like, "Yo,
wow,
man,
that's the bomb.
You the bomb, yeah. You the bomb, yo, yeah."
Good.
Just like positive thoughts out into the world. Just randomly, like find someone, write a letter to them. It goes, "You the bomb, dude," or dudette, or whatever else.
Other fairy tale creatures.
Yeah, just send that out into the world, like positive mental attitude stuff out into the world, like do
Well, or
that.
that we
Yeah.
were king.
Yeah.
I don't know. The ridicule thing I think is a hard one because he
Yeah.
does. I do appreciate the sentiment of trying to use humor, especially relatable humor, because that will
Oh, it's brilliant. It's a brilliant
diffuse
tactic.
tense situations. But I don't particularly like him or his brand of humor.
No, and so I can tell you that like that humor is actually something that a lot of people use. If you read like Verbal Judo and the one I'm reading now, Rory Miller and like Violent Encounters and stuff like that, humor is actually used a lot to diffuse situations and de-escalate situations and make people that have a whole bunch of like oomph behind them be deflated. It's brilliant at that.
Yeah, I see a time and a place for it. I get that. I would say generally it's not something to be
But yeah, his humor is
overutilized.
very lowbrow.
Yeah, which I don't
Because like
like. I
we're not joking about like he literally had the flatulence blitzkrieg. Him and Kodak in Rochester, New York or whatever were
Yeah,
beefing
he
about
really had
something.
a hate on for Kodak.
They were beefing about something or other, and he literally had 100 or something people of the have-nots or the have-somes that he bought 100 tickets for a play at a theater to our symphony or something like that. So like a fairly highbrow institution where like uppity, snooty white people hang out, and had a bunch of these people that are not so well off go and attend a all-you-can-eat buffet of nothing but baked beans, and then go to a night at the theater and basically fart their brains out the
Yeah.
entire time
Night of a living flatulence.
as a way to get his point across, all because
Well,
he had a beef with Kodak.
which I can understand having differences with major corporations, but
Yeah, as we do usually around June. But
oh, that's right. Pride Month is coming. Brace yourself for the rainbows.
Or braced.
Well, let me read another. This is maybe the longest passage that I'm going to read tonight. Talking about ridicule and the use of humor. Particularly, Alinsky is talking in this chapter about educating organizers. He learns the local legends, anecdotes, values, idioms. He listens to small talk. He refrains from rhetoric foreign to the local culture. He knows that worn out words, remember, this is 1972. He knows that worn out words like white racist, fascist pig, and motherfucker have been spewed about, that using them now is within the negative experience of the local people, serving only to identify the speaker as one of those nuts and to turn off any further communication. And yet, the organizer must not try to fake it. He must be himself. I remember a first meeting with Mexican American leaders at a California barrio where they served me a special Mexican dinner. When we were halfway through, I put down my knife and fork, saying, "My God, do you eat this stuff because you like it or because you have to? I think it's as lousy as the Jewish kosher crap I had to eat as a kid." There was a moment of shocked silence, and then everybody roared. Suddenly, barriers began to come down as they all began talking and laughing. They were so accustomed to the Anglo, who would rave about the beauty of Mexican food even though they knew it was killing him, the Anglo, who had memorized a few Spanish phrases with the inevitable hasta la vista, that it was a refreshingly honest experience to them. The incident became a legend to many that you would hear them say, for instance, he has as much use for that guy as Alinsky has for Mexican food. A number of the Mexican Americans present confessed that they only ate some of those dishes when they entertained an Anglo. The same faking goes on with whites and certain items of blacks' soul food.
oh, this sounds like Clinton with the hot sauce in her purse.
Just a tiny bit more. There's a difference between honesty and rude disrespect of another's tradition. The organizer will err far less by being himself than by engaging in professional techniques when the people really know better. It shows respect for the people, to be honest, as in the Mexican dinner episode where they're being treated as people and not guinea pigs to be techniqued. It is most important that this action be understood in context. Prior to my remark, there had been warm personal discussion on the problems of the people. They knew not only my concern about their plight, but that I liked them as a people. I felt their response in friendship, and we were together. In the totality of this situation, that I did what otherwise would have been offensive. I argue if you call the host food shit at dinner, it's still offensive.
Yeah. Yeah.
Still
I mean-
pretentious. Still an ass.
But that, like, I'm gonna go ahead and take things that never happened for 1,000 on this, Alex.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, this is
either-
exactly.
either this is just how this guy lived his life, or he's making shit up. And it's hard
Yeah.
to tell which is, because, like, I really don't like the anecdotes, and I don't like the way
No.
this guy writes or
I
his sense of
really,
humor.
really don't think that this, like, because this is like offensive potentially to two groups of people.
Only one. Alinsky is Jewish, so he probably
No.
did eat the kosher crap.
Yeah, but like he's going and telling people that like Mexican food is terrible and Jewish kosher food is terrible. So it's potentially like,
pass when it was your own culture.
yeah, but like, there's going to be people that'll be like, bro, my food's delicious.
Yeah, and I love tacos, but that doesn't mean everything from Mexico is good to eat.
No, exactly. But like,
I like Tex-Mex. not
I
Mexican.
I'm willing to believe that this is not something that actually happened,
Yeah, I'm
100%.
leaning
Or-
towards like press X for doubt, like
or
things
that
never
like
happened.
Mhm.
it did, but not like this.
Yeah, they laughed him out of the place or
It's like a,
kicked him out of the place for being. a
like
piece of shit.
there's always two sides to every story and then the truth. Whereas if you were to go find one of these people and talk to them about that, they're like, yeah, we laughed, but it was that awkward laugh because he was being a dickhead because like we served him food and he said it was shit, so we didn't know what to do, so we had that awkward, nervous like
And then there was awkward silence. for
No,
the
no,
rest
but
of the
it's in
call.
Mexican,
we
so
also
it's J A J A J A.
yeah.
But
yeah, they had to, like,
Spanish and
They
English.
had to still work with the guy, so they were like polite. Like we've all probably had that business meeting with some guy that we can't stand, and he makes a terrible joke, and you're like, yeah, it's really good, buddy.
Every day from 9 to 5.
Yeah. Because I've certainly had that where it's like I was always available for lunch because I didn't really have an excuse for that. But man, if you wanted to do dinner, I was always busy.
I don't like the way this guy writes.
No,
But
it's like
anyway.
he's so full of shit.
It does appear that way.
Who doesn't like Kodak though? Come on. At least like Kodak back then, like Kodak now that
I mean,
Who-
okay, so-
Kodak, who is even Kodak? Are they even a thing still?
so I think the brand still exists. I don't think the Eastman Kodak company exists in the way that it did in the 70s, where they were like the place to buy film.
yeah.
It's not like it was like ever like super unaffordable or something. Like
No,
I
but
think
they had a
it was
bunch
more
of
the
problems with their-
socioeconomic issues
Yeah.
of they were not employing enough blacks to Alinsky's satisfaction, and
Yeah.
they had ghettoized part of Rochester, New York, where they were headquartered. And he has a lot of beefs with Kodak, it seems, and I don't know what they all are, and that's probably because I don't know enough about the economics of Kodak in the 1970s.
sounds made up.
Yeah.
Well,
But I mean, without
believe that-
them,
I believe that corporations treated employees badly. They still do. Why would they not have done that 50 years ago?
Yeah.
I'm 100% sure that's why we have unions, right? Trade unions are a thing because employers treated their employees badly at one point, right? So
yeah.
I'm sure Eastman Kodak is no different than any other large corporation
Yeah,
operating in
literally.
America.
Yeah, especially that operated at that time. But also without them, I'm sure that town probably wouldn't exist.
Well, I don't know that Rochester wouldn't exist, but
It wouldn't be what it is.
taking from Alinsky's own book, Kodak is why they had public housing. Kodak is why they had a center for the performing arts. Kodak is why they had museums. Kodak
Yeah.
is what funded libraries. The same is true of like Carnegie Steel, the reason that we have so many libraries throughout North America. I happen to live in a community where we have a Carnegie library. It says Carnegie right on the building. It's a very nice library.
Yeah.
But those
Well, I'm
things wouldn't
saying-
exist if there weren't giant like steel magnates going around building cool libraries, and
Well,
we wouldn't
exactly.
have institutions like Cornell University because of the Cornell company that makes glassware. Like these
Yeah.
are things, and again,
I mean,
applying today's standards of morality to historical events, they were probably doing the best thing they could have been doing at the time that it was happening.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
fair to compare today's standards to something 50 or 60 or 100 years ago.
I mean, the left likes moving goalposts, but you can't move historic goalposts.
Right. And that doesn't mean that like Eastman Kodak is without sin either.
Exactly.
But
But-
within the context of what was going on at their time, they were probably no worse than any other large corporation.
Yeah.
Right. And if we want to look at let's go back to paragraph 2 in the prologue. If we want to look at the Holocaust, IBM helped come up with the numbering system for the Jews in Germany, but we still have IBM computers around. So I fail to see if we're going to apply ethical and moral standards to today to history, I got some examples of where we might want to start.
Yeah. There's a big
P.S. I
difference
don't like
between
IBM.
Yeah, there's a big difference between we didn't employ enough blacks who may or may not even have been in the area. I don't know what the demographic makeup of Rochester is, and I certainly don't know what it was back then, versus we literally came up with the numbering system for the people involved in the actual real Holocaust that happened, and not some thing that we're just equating to that. But yeah, whatever. Like, fuck Saul Alinsky.
Fuck that guy.
I mean, yes. Fuck Saul Alinsky. That's not true. Not untrue. Going onward.
Uncle
A
Ted
good
should have mailed him
tactic
something.
is one your people enjoy. And the converse of this, a tactic that drags on too long becomes a drag.
Obvious guy is obvious.
But
But yeah,
again, not incorrect.
yeah,
Yes, a good tactic is something that the people that you like, because you're using your people's expertise against the inexperience of your enemy. You're using a tactic that you enjoy, that your people enjoy, before your people get worn out by that tactic. Because if you keep sending a bunch of people to an all-you-can-eat beans buffet and then telling them they have to go watch the orchestra, it's funny the first couple of times you do it, but eventually people are going to get tired of it. And I don't just mean the uppity women at the orchestra that make their middle class.
The people
manager
eating
husbands.
the beans are going to be like, how many times is this crazy white guy going to have us go and eat beans and fart in the theater? Because this is getting nowhere. I don't like the beans. I don't like the theater, and I'm not seeing the results.
Right. And it's funny the first time, and maybe it's funny the second time, but after you do it the 15th time and nothing is
running
changed,
out of pairs of underwear.
Yeah.
Well,
You can only shard so many times.
but that's kind of the point. And I think this is part of my distaste with this book, is that they don't ever go on to actually explain what the tactics are. And the excuse that is proffered is that because the tactics will change depending on the situation and the time in which the situation occurs.
But isn't that the whole point of this book, though, is to give you the tactics in order to fight the right?
Give me the tools to do my job. That's my...
Right, like you look at like...
Can opener.
Well, like Sun Tzu, Book of Five Rings, and all these other like military strategy tactic books that people use for business life and all the other things. It's a tactics book that was written like thousands of years ago. Those tactics are still applicable to today. You have a tactics book that was written not that long ago in relative history, and they're saying, well, this changes.
But an L-shaped ambush is always an L-shaped ambush. Like, tactics are tactics, man.
Yeah, it should just be the same. You may need to change some specifics of it to make it applicable to this,
Right. Eventually, I'm going to get to use lasers instead of machine guns, and we're using machine guns instead of arrows. But like an
But the
L-shaped ambush is
concept,
still an L-shaped ambush.
yeah, yeah, whatever you're doing, it's still the same concept, tactic, but the specifics are different. Except for, I guess that's where they don't have to play by any rules, including the rule book that they wrote.
Well, I guess that we really ought to retitle this as like suggestions for communist organizers.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably the most accurate title for this book.
Yeah.
Maybe if we write a book, it'll actually be called like Actual Rules for Radicals.
No.
Send mail.
How not to be a piece of shit.
I could get behind that book.
The problem is no one would read a book called How Not to Be a Piece of Shit because well,
Unshitty
sorry.
yourself.
Yeah.
I think we're up to number 8. Keep the pressure on. Obvious communist is obvious.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you got your foot on the throat, obviously don't let it off. But I mean, thanks for coming out.
Yeah, if you're stepping
Captain
on
Obvious.
Sneck, don't not step on Sneck because if you unstep on Sneck, it will bite
He'll
you.
Yeah, you'll be dead human.
Well, okay, so the next one is actually, I think, a useful one for discussion. Because keep the pressure on is not
Yeah, it's so
helpful.
obvious. It's just like
Thanks, Tips.
Painfully obvious. But number 9, the threat is usually more terrifying than the thing itself. And I think this is at least universally true.
Yeah,
Going to the doctor, the idea of going to the doctor, the idea of going to the dentist is usually worse than what actually happens when you go to the doctor or dentist.
Yep.
Usually.
Yeah, not knowing is always worse than knowing, and the threat is not knowing.
Yeah.
It's we've got whatever this is back here.
We might do this to you.
Yeah, we may do this, we may do this, we may do that. We've got all of this unknown.
Yeah. That's why you call people out on their bullshit.
Yeah.
And then you see if they're actually full
and
of
that's
shit
why, hopefully we'll do this book at some point in this, but like The Gift of Fear talks about that. Is like there's so many people that are worried about what might be that they're not thinking about what is.
Well, and I think Alinsky does touch on that piece, but I think he does it in a very poor way because he talks about worrying about organizing for the world that is rather than the world that they want or the world that could be. Because the first problem is, well, I think the example they use in the book is in Bolshevik Russia. They want political reform and they want free elections and they want all of these things because the Bolsheviks have no guns. But as soon as they get the guns, they immediately turn them on their enemies.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Something Rasputin.
Indeed. I feel like 10 is a repeat of 8, but the major premise for tactics is the development of operations that will maintain a constant pressure upon the opposition. I don't know how that is significantly different, but we're just going to gloss over it, I think.
How are these? None of this is rules. Like, this is not.
That's what I said from the beginning.
I know. I'm just.
No, that's what I said.
I'm doing what he's doing, and I'm
communist
reinforcing the nonsense. Where it's just like,
Communist Book Club is worst book club.
yeah, but it's equally terrible for everybody.
Yes. Share in our.
I take back every bad thing I said about Fight Club.
Yeah. All books are equal now.
Some books are more equal than others.
Second episode on Fight Club.
Is Animal Farm on the list? We should put Animal Farm on the list.
It's not on the list, I think. It should probably be moved up on the list.
We've already done Orwell, though, so we should do some other things that are not Orwell.
Yeah, but also, I want to read a book that I actually like. I mean, next month we've got one that I actually really liked. But we should do more that, like, yeah.
Well, we'll talk about Handful of Hard Men next month. My problem with Handful of Hard Men is the ending. Spoiler alert, Rhodesia loses.
Yeah.
Like
It doesn't
in case you
exist
didn't
anymore.
know. In case you haven't figured that out.
In case you still think it's on the map.
Well, it is. It's just been retitled.
Yeah, it's labeled Zimbabwe now, and
Yeah.
upset about that. But aside from the ending of that, next month's book, much, much more enjoyable to read.
Yeah. There's more better rules in that book than there are in this stupid book.
I don't want to get into that because I want to go off on a total
Yeah.
tangent about tracking and anti-tracking, but save that for next month.
Yeah.
Right. 11. If you push negative hard and deep enough, it'll break through into its counter side. This is based on the principle that every positive has its negative.
That's what she said?
Yeah.
No?
Like, okay, so okay.
Yeah. I'm not really sure what he's trying to say, but yeah, bud.
Yeah, bud. The price of a successful attack is a constructive alternative.
What? The price of a successful attack is no, that's not. It's not the price. That would be the ideal outcome of a successful attack. No.
But I think this is where he's getting at the whole he has no moral compass and
So
will do whatever it takes to get the objective completed.
Based on that, this is rule number 12, and assuming that the rules are presented chronologically in the book, because the rules are not actually clearly indicated in the book. There is not like a convenient table with a list in it in the book.
Yeah, it's not a Jocko book where it's like chapter 1, rule 1.
How to win. Chapter 2, jujitsu. Chapter 3, good.
Also jujitsu, yeah.
More jujitsu. Surprise. Based on where this is in the list, if I am thinking about what is in the book, I think this is the part on how to get people to come to an agreement regarding strategies and tactics. If you want people to arrive at Z, allow them to discuss options A through X first and point out all the flaws with those, and allow someone else to present option Z, and then don't attack the option that you want to win.
That's sounding an awful lot like Jocko.
But it's not an incorrect strategy for leadership. And this is
absolutely.
The end of the book is more about how to organize, well, communist parties in this case, but how to organize groups of people for effective I almost said effective political change, but that's probably not accurate.
Well, I think it's
how to organize people for political change.
Not even that. I think it's an effective way to organize a group to achieve whatever objective that is, because you need the group, like Jocko says, to come up with the idea, the plan themselves.
Because you need them to buy into it. And if nobody buys into their shit as much as their own shit.
Yeah. And if you need to push them and nudge them in the right direction, you can do that. But ultimately, they need to be the ones to come up with the plan. And if they come up with the plan, you don't shit talk it. You're just like, yeah, I really like that.
That sounds good.
Let's just do that. Yeah.
I have no further questions.
Good. Jiu-jitsu. And then all of a sudden they've bought into it. And then it's their plan and it's not your plan.
Everyone.
Yeah. This is probably it's a weird rule, but it's probably the most important part of this whole book, maybe, is that
well, this is all based on that if I interpreted his rule correctly.
Which is very likely that we haven't, because
communism, yes.
Yeah. It's a collective idea. We all came up with it all at the same time, and it's equally good across the board.
Isn't it
but
so
I
good,
think this is what it's getting at, is in talking about organizing groups of people. Because again, he's not wrong. He's just not right for the correct reason.
Yeah. Much like the NDP.
Well, sometimes I have to agree with the NDP because they're not always wrong. They're just not always right for the reason they think they are.
Exactly.
I mean, even a broken watch is right twice a day, right?
This is the problem, is like sometimes the communists are not incorrect. They just maybe are not entirely right.
Yeah.
And their
Or
motives
maybe
are
they're not right
impure.
for the same reasons that I
Yeah.
want them to be.
Yeah.
But I think this is an actual useful takeaway, as in terms of an actual effective, I'm going to call this one a strategy and not a tactic. In terms of an actual effective strategy.
Oh, did we just lose Andrew?
Uh oh. Yeah.
Oh no. Is the
Oh,
No,
internet
you're,
dead?
you're back. You're
We're
back.
back.
Yeah.
All right, you had a pause
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. The Zuck
Um,
tried to censor you there for a second. You were
There's
getting
a pause
too,
for
yeah.
atmosphere to get some ambiance. All right.
Oh,
Yeah.
I've got a warning that apparently my internet has become unstable. Zoom is not happy.
Uh-oh.
All right, reiterate quickly.
I'm going to call this a strategy and not a tactic, because of if you're going to organize a political group to do a thing, if you're going to organize a group to do a thing, getting the group to come up with the idea of how they're going to achieve your objective is the important thing in organizing that group.
Yeah.
As long as they're doing what you want them to do.
Doesn't really matter how you got there. I'll finish.
And he's frozen again. But yes, you need that group buy-in. Without the group buy-in, you've got nothing.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you can only go so far as a leader when you're pushing the idea, the agenda, and everything else, right? Like, you can be somewhat successful at that, but when you have like the energy of everybody behind you, like if you've got 100 people, 1,000 people, 10,000 people, 1,000,000 people behind you, and you're pushing forward with their idea versus your idea, that buy-in is going to mean that everyone believes it, and if they believe it, they're going to get really behind it and really push that forward.
Yeah, 100%.
I turned off my video. Is it any better?
Well, we hear you loud and clear.
Beautiful. I don't know what's sucking up all the tubes. It's probably my wife watching adult films.
It happens.
13. I've heard everything you guys have said. It didn't cut out. It's just my end. 13. Pick the target, freeze it, personalize it, polarize it. Not to be confused with Kodak it.
Shake it like a Polaroid picture.
Exactly.
Is that rule 14 or whatever?
This is sort of the capstone of the entire argument, is whatever I think you're going to attack, you need to have everyone united to attack that specific thing. How you do that and what you're doing, not necessarily the important bit, but making sure that everybody's on the same page to, well, in the example in Rochester, New York, attack the Eastman Kodak Company for not hiring enough blacks. Right, so this is like an ongoing multi-year thing. They've gone through ghettoization, they've gone through community organization, they've gone through eating a lot of beans and farting it up in the, was it the orchestra that they had?
Yeah, it
was a symphony of some kind. It was
symphony,
the
thank you.
like
the
that.
Crown Jewel Symphony something or other. I don't know. I just found that part
Rochester,
absolutely
how
ridiculous.
Crown
So
Jewel could have been.
Yeah, but it was the 60s, man. Things were different.
Yeah, like Detroit back in the day was the shizzle, yo. Like when the auto industry was booming, Detroit was the Paris of America.
It's true.
I was going to say the Midwest, but maybe.
Motorhead.
Now every other house is burned out, and then every other house
is a crackdown.
Is burned out and has all the copper wire stripped from it. Yeah. The times they are a changing.
Thank you, Bob Dylan. So these are the rule. These are the suggestions for communist sympathizers. I mean, organizers.
Same difference.
Yeah, same thing. This is a terrible book. This is a truly awful book. The one thing that I will touch on at the very end of the book, the distinctions of the middle class, separating the middle class into the lower, middle, and upper middle class, and saying that the middle class has no... I don't know what the right the right context, the right word is for this, but that their lives are basically meaningless. You get up, you go to work, you pay your bills, you go home, you die.
Mm.
This is middle class existence in America, and this is middle class existence today. Although we have a shrinking middle class, but the middle class is still, you get up, you pay your bills, you spend your life paying off your mortgage, and you retire, and shortly thereafter you die. Organizing the middle class is incredibly important to the communist sympathizers that are going to be reading Alinsky's book, because the middle class has some amount of disposable income and they're sympathetic to your communist cause. The upper class has lots of disposable income, or at least lots of capital, which is effectively the same thing. And
Well,
likely
and
very,
according to communism, capital is the only true possession which we need to give up.
but it is. Capital is the thing that allows you to, well, do anything
Yeah.
else.
And the only people that have that are capitalists. Everyone else thinks they have it, but they don't.
So therefore, we should not work for it and have it given to us.
What? Also, fuck Marx, fuck Engel, and Alinsky.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to start adding him to my list of people that I don't like.
Yeah.
Fart in an orchestra so everybody gives us what we want.
Well, I
Symphony.
would. Yeah, I would
Symphony.
go fart on their graves.
Among other things.
Yeah.
But I think that the attack on the middle class, well, we have a shrinking middle class. The attack on the middle class is an ongoing and salient issue, even 50 years later. Well, they've achieved a lot of the things. The leftists, the communists, whatever, the socialists, whatever you want, to a large degree, they control post-secondary education systems. They control education systems as a whole, elementary and secondary school educations. To a large degree, they control the government in the form of various government apparatchiks that run departments and bureaucracies for the government, not necessarily the elected officials, but like the people who run or work at things like the Ministry of Transportation, the Ministry of the Environment and Climate Change. Yes, they changed the name. It's dumb. These government apparatchiks are mostly people that are just trying to get by and have a quote unquote decent lifestyle, right? They want two working parents, each with a car, paying their mortgage, and maybe they have a timeshare or a cottage or something like that, and they can maybe afford to put two of their children through school, something like that. There is no more white picket fence middle class American dream, pull your own self up by your own bootstraps, but there's still this burgeoning idea of like a middle class where you can work, pay your
Yeah.
bills, pay your mortgage off, have 10 years of retirement, and then die and leave your children nothing, of course.
Yeah, but I mean, part of the problem is like we're already segregated enough in that we've got like upper class, middle class, lower class. But then these guys have to come and be like upper middle class, lower middle class, and start creating more segments to further divide us to get the people to buy into their bullshit. Because it's like
But you have to divide people to get them to buy into their bullshit. That's
that's
part of
the
the premise of
problem.
the
Yeah.
entire system of
Well,
communist
I know, but
organization.
that's the problem. Is like they're trying to unify everybody,
It's
but in
only a
order to
problem from
unify
our
everybody,
perspective.
they have to further divide everybody, and it's like,
So they gotta find something that they can be, they can be
well,
hard
yeah,
done by with, right?
yeah, it's like, oh, well, it's we can't talk about all of the middle class because some of the middle class are probably closer to upper class, but still middle class. So we're going to be like the middle class and the lower middle class are closer to like the lower class. So we could get them on board with us to go after the upper middle class and the actual upper class. It's like, but if you have to start subdividing people into so many tiny little boxes, we're not really united at all. Bullshit. Such nonsense.
Not
How
only that, but I
similar
mean,
how similar are we if we need to have a bajillion different subcategories of people?
well, I mean, I feel like, especially like the middle class, like people say this as if it's a bad thing, but I think a lot of people um kind of what Jordan Peterson said. They take a lot of pride in working and doing stuff that they
Yeah.
being productive, doing something they enjoy, and they also spend their money doing stuff that they enjoy when they're not at work. And
Yeah.
they live very people live very fulfilling lives this way,
Yeah.
and there's nothing
Well,
wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with working
if
9 to
anything,
5 if it's
we
something you
need
enjoy.
fewer people that are doing surrogate activities and more people doing actual activities.
Yeah, productive activities to the
Yeah.
betterment of society, whether it's
Doing
fixing
hard
the world.
things with their handful of hard men,
Yeah,
like going on
Still sounds funny, but I mean,
two month long rucks into like Mozambique.
waking up with fucking pythons in your sleeping
Yeah.
bag. Good times.
do hard things with good people.
Yeah.
Stop allowing communist sympathizers to organize you for their own betterment, not yours.
Yeah. Use their playbook against themselves. Use the lessons that actually make sense
Playbook is a
to organize yourselves into being better people and a
I
small
don't. I don't
tribe.
even want. I don't want to even. Well, okay. That part I can agree with. I was gonna say the organize yourselves piece is a thing that like just stop allowing the communist sympathizers to organize you into doing their bidding. That's really
Yes.
the
Yeah, they're not looking out for your best interest. This book clearly states that they're trying to manipulate you to like get along with everyone else that has a somewhat vaguely maybe similar-ish type gripe, or at least a gripe
a
about
not
something
completely
to the same
diametrically
person.
opposed view.
Yeah, to organize in order that you get clout against your landlord or whoever it is, Kodak or some other giant megacorp or whatever it is, and fight them collectively, even though you all want completely different individual things, so that none of you get what you want, but the organizer gets what they want. And everyone's equally miserable because that's communism.
Equally hungry.
Yeah.
In summary, I didn't like this book.
Yeah. 10 out of 10 would not read again.
If you find a copy, burn it.
Yeah, I'm generally not one for book burning.
But this is
Unless
an
like you're
exception.
in the middle of nowhere and you need to start a fire and you could survive by starting a fire, then burn whatever you've got. But like 10
There's
out
an
of
exception
10,
to every rule.
this goes into the bonfire, the wood chipper, the whatever
The
vessel of
helicopter rotor
destruction.
blades, anything.
Yeah,
As you're tossing a commie
yeah,
out, like any all of the above. All of the above.
yeah. Like you get like one of those pocket copies, and this goes like in the breast pocket of their uniform as you push them out the back of the helicopter.
Chris is giving us a hard time because he didn't
Yeah,
read the whole book. He stopped after 15 pages because he got the gist of it.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
If
some
we,
of us do this for the listeners, Chris.
that's what I
yeah.
said. That's what I was
If
saying.
we had only read the first 15 pages, not that it would have made a whole lot of difference because we would have got the same information out of the first 15 pages as we got out of all of it. Would have been a slightly shorter episode, so you would have had less entertainment.
Although we would have
I really
saved
did
money
try to
on
find a
butt wad.
distilled list of the rules because like finding the rules in the book is impossible. They're not
said-
clearly communicated.
he
And this
doesn't
is
Because there are no rules.
He doesn't say them.
but
He
there are
follow me,
kind
doesn't
of
say them.
suggestions.
Yeah, but it, like he says that if there's rules, we're gonna break the rules anyways because that's how we win. So the only rule is win.
There is
That
no
is a good
rules.
rule. I can get behind that rule. The rule is win.
The
Yeah,
only
so
rule
everyone,
is there is no rules. Just win.
yeah, so fire up your DJ Khaled tracks, and all I do is win.
Vuvuzela noises. Is that DJ Khaled?
Yeah, sure. I don't know. I don't actually listen to that
maybe?
stuff.
I don't know.
Just say
one
we
of
the
those
best.
guys.
Just say
I
we
know
the
what
best.
I know.
Has the Vuvuzela
I know
noise.
slightly more pop culture than you do.
Okay, if you want to be
Great.
DJ Khaled, just say we the best, and then you're done.
I don't.
All I
want
do
to
is
be.
win. That's all I know.
Another
I
one.
remember when we were promised a time that we would get tired of winning.
Tiger blood.
2016 was a weird place.
Yeah.
And thank you, Chris. Thank you. That's what we strive for.
Yeah, we appreciate you listening and commenting and playing along at home.
Mhm.
Yeah. And hopefully soon we will see you on the range, possibly having a drink. Not necessarily the same time, because that's dangerous.
That's right. Shooting
Yeah.
first, drinking second. Safety's in there
Exactly.
somewhere.
Yeah. And yes, I too enjoy the suffering of other people.
I don't enjoy the suffering of us. I'm so glad we're doing a better book next month.
I've already read it.
Yeah.
Though.
Oh,
I don't
this
care.
to
I'm
listen
reading
to
it
it
again.
again.
I'm reading it again.
You're not wrong. It's
Oh,
probably a good
'Cause
idea.
I want to
maybe
read
there's
his
stuff
other
that I
book.
missed.
I want to
Is there
read his
another one?
other book. Yeah, he's written 2 books basically about the same thing.
Oh, all right then.
The SAS in Rhodesia. 2 books, same guy. One was
Why did
really
I not
good.
know this? Why did I not know this? I
The
could have been
other
listening
one's
to this
got to
all
be
along.
at least as good.
Yeah.
So he's actually written more than that, but I would think his 2 most popular books are Handful of Hard Men and We Dared to Win, which are both about
Yeah.
the SAS. He also wrote Men of War, something about the African bush. I don't remember the title. A biography of the Prime Minister of South Africa, I think. And Guns, Golf, and Glory.
Guns, golf,
I've heard
and glory.
that South Africa might be a little bit too Dutch.
Well, the Prime Minister of South Africa is Vanderbilt, so
At least they're
yes.
not British.
Well, or Portuguese.
Or Portuguese.
Although at this point, seeing as it no longer exists, it's all kind of mute. So,
Allegedly water under
still
the bridge,
exists.
but I still hold a grudge.
well, I mean, but they had to change their name. So, like, you know,
Portugal's
Rhodesia's-
still a country. It's called Portugal.
yeah, but like they didn't really do their part. So,
Fair enough.
Can suck on their cork and eat their fish.
So next month, the end of the month, Handful of Hard Men. Next week though, episode 300.
300, baby.
Maybe we get to have an anniversary episode that I say anniversary because like
Bowling
the
theme?
well, just the 100-digit episodes are like a big deal because that's a big significant number.
Yeah.
It is not at all a significant like milestone event. It's just a big number of episodes that happens to be round and like soothes the tism in a certain way.
Yeah.
Even, divisible.
I guess we don't really have a thing. We're maybe doing a call-in show.
Yeah, it's going to be a
or,
call-in show.
Call-in show? There you go.
My plan is to open it up to Patreons, people on Discord, and then if we still have time, anyone else. So we'll see how much user participation we get. I have some topics to discuss in the meantime while we're waiting for people to call in. But if you want to join us and
There's always
hang out
stuff
for a
to
bit.
talk about.
Yeah. No, yeah. So like a listener feedback show, but live. So if you're a fan of the show
or not,
and if you hate the show, I'd love that. I would love that. We've asked a few people recently to join us that hate the show.
Crickets?
Hop on.
I heard crickets.
I have 2 so far, but hop on. We'd love to have
I
you
never
on.
understood the rules to that, and the bat is a funny shape.
Yeah. But hop on. It'll be good times. Dude, it's such a boring sport. Who plays one game that lasts like several hundred days? It's like the
Like, the score
worst
is
game
meaningless.
ever. It's like
Can't have a
worst.
score that goes into the hundreds. It's meaningless at that point.
Why not? Basketball does that.
Yeah, but like
Did I
each thing is
stutter?
worth multiples. Anything that uses like a weird scoring system where it's like one whatever is worth 10 points. It's like, why isn't it just worth 1?
I don't know, man.
I don't play
know.
the sports ball, so
I support Raptors, but I still don't, still don't like the
I heard
Grizzlies
the sports
ever.
disc people had a big upset today. I guess Toronto is doing poorly
Toronto's-
again.
Well, Toronto's doing Toronto things, and we're not.
So
gonna
they
talk about
choked.
it.
You're saying they choked? Toronto choked?
8 inches, all of it.
Oh. All right.
They were
then.
up
happens.
They were up 3-1 in the series of best of
Yeah.
7. So let's put it that way. That's all you got to know.
Oh, poor disc puck.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, if you want in, get on the
Anyways,
Discord, shoot us a
Discord next
message.
week. podcasting.
We'll figure it
is
out. We'll
way more
answer your
cool.
questions. We'll make fun of you. You can make fun of us.
That's right. Ridicule is apparently an important feature in team building
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
organization building.
Yeah.
Communism.
But if we get
Ridicule
the
is
one up
important in
on you,
communism.
we
Yeah.
get the one up on you, we're not going to let off the pressure because
Yeah.
Because that row made it in there twice somehow.
that's right.
Have I mentioned I really don't like this book?
Yeah, you
We'd
can
like to
hop
say we
on
should-
and
we
ask
should
us
read
how
every-
much you dislike this book. Yeah.
We like to say, you should all read, the same stuff that we're reading so you can follow along. But like, I honestly, in good conscience, can't recommend this book to anybody. I mean, you're
No,
not
I
missing
You know what?
anything.
I can, but you have to approach it in that you're doing academic work for the purpose of learning
Pure
Yeah.
the
research.
I
only.
hesitate to say tactics of your enemy, but really that is what you are trying to gain an
Know your
appreciation
enemy.
for how your
Yeah.
enemy operates. And my enemy is communism.
Mhm.
Yes.
I have several. The government is one of them. But
These
communist-
pictures are the
Especially
same
communist.
thing. Yeah, these pictures are the same thing.
But more to the point, communism.
yes. Well, if I have to pick anything to like the least, it's having nothing.
And being hungry. When
I
work
don't
hard.
like being hungry. I am not a little boy.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
work hard.
There's
no
a lot
reason
of me
for
to
me
love, and
ever
I
be
like my dinner.
angry if I don't
Yeah.
want to be, if it's not by choice.
Yeah, communal meat is great in theory in Valhalla. Doesn't work in real life.
Yeah.
I'd work fine in a community. That's what makes it communal.
Of like 15
Yeah.
people
I mean,
that
you
are
can't-
all equally
in a woods.
equally committed to brewing and maintaining and not like gorging themselves continuously on it.
That's right. When one guy drinks all the mead, he gets ejected from the
Yeah.
woods.
Yeah,
He
when
has to go
turns-
live
when he
in a
turns the
Toronto.
endless when he turns the endless bacon into not endless bacon because he's so gluttonous.
That guy's a dick.
He gets
Oh,
kicked out
what
of
is that
Valhalla.
pig's name?
He gets kicked out of Valhalla.
It's not
Not welcome
Cephalfur.
here.
That's like a horse. That's the like
Oh
a
no,
horse.
that's Odin's horse. Yeah. So the pig of endless bacon that gets slaughtered every night, and you'll forgive me because my Old Norse is terrible. How do you pronounce the A and the E that are one letter?
Sarenheimer, maybe?
Yeah, that's the one. Close enough. There's a pig.
Barnheimer?
He gets killed every night in Valhalla and gives bacon to everybody, and then comes alive the next day.
Because bacon.
Because bacon and mead.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Yeah.
if you are going to follow along and play book club at home, which we strongly encourage, if you are buying your books on Amazon, which I don't recommend, but if you're like me and you use Amazon because it's convenient or it's cheap or it's what's available, because your local bookstore is closed, like most of mine.
The overlords will allow us out soon, though.
Allegedly.
Well, if you're buying things on Amazon, it doesn't have to be books, but if you are buying books on Amazon, you want to play along at home, I would recommend you use our links that are in the show notes because it takes a tiny amount of the Amazon profit and gives it to me instead. And I appreciate that. It doesn't cost you anything, and you could think of it as taking a few dollars away from whoever is replacing Jeff Bezos.
Indeed.
Damn the man.
We mentioned it. We're on Discord. If you want to come and hang out and talk poop with other people that listen to the show, the Discord is getting to be pretty active. I think we were up to 50 people at one point recently. It looks like a few people have logged off permanently, but
There are some spicy memes, if nothing
yeah,
else.
if you don't like spicy memes, don't go to the spicy memes
Yeah.
channel.
I'm logging on now because I want to see some spicy memes.
Yeah, there's some good ones.
There's a couple of good ones today. He's been on the ball with his memeing.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Go around. Gavin, where can everybody find you on the internet?
I guess the best place to find me is on the gram, Urbex GTA, all one word. There may or may not be some shooting matches in the future that I may or may not be in attendance at.
Good stuff. Dave, where can everybody find you, buddy?
Find me on the IGs at Diesel6223. Summer's here. There's going to be some more posts. And yeah. All things
You
guns,
can't find me
fishing,
on
books.
social media because social media and I don't get along, but I still have a business. And if you want to buy some first aid supplies or tactical nylon accessories, go to ragnaroktactical.ca and use the discount code PATRIOT at checkout. You save yourself some money, and we do $10 flat rate shipping, at least until Canada Post jacks their rates, which I think is coming.
That and tomorrow is going to be Taco Tuesday, so get on there, order some tacos.
It's true. Taco Tuesday is a good
Yeah.
day. Unless you want to make fun of Mexicans and compare it to kosher food, which
Yeah,
Don't
that we
recommend.
do not recommend that. No.
don't recommend that.
Honor the Mexican and buy some tacos and run them hard.
Wow, that Zuckerberg and Paschke is like uncanny. That's quite the meme.
Told you there's some good ones on there.
Yeah. Pay no attention to what Dave is saying. Join the Discord. Spicy memes all day long. As spicy as the tacos.
Arriba.
On delay.
Hasta la vista. See, I read the book. Oh, I almost forgot. I have to apologize to Rod Giltaca. Rod couldn't make it on the show tonight. Shocking everyone, I'm sure.
Yeah.
For all of our listeners out there in podcast land, I'd like to remind you that you are the true North, strong and free, and should avoid communism.